Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is HowFast. I've got some good news for us. I got in contact with a guy who's got some injectors for us, so I'm going to be picking those up shortly. I also got a guy I'm meeting with on Monday for a new intake for Dodgy here. So some movement on some parts. I also was in contact with Holly about which Terminator X we're going to get. So looks like we're going to pull the trigger on that in the next week. So all the fueling components. Also, I was talking to a guy about a fuel pump. So all the fueling components are all kind of coming together. Obviously, I still need fuel lines. Obviously, still need brake lines. All those other sensors and all that kind of stuff. So there's still quite a bit more, but the parts that are beginning to start rolling in now. Today, though, we got to talk about another major component for Dodgy, right? We talked about the engine. That's a major one. The chassis is a major one. The ECU is a major one. But another really major one is the transmission. To have a transmission, something that converts all that power that engine makes into something that we can use, is tough. It's to have a transmission that can handle that kind of power is going to have to be stout, and it's going to need some parts. Been talking to Randy. Randy says get your shopping list ready, and we're going to have to go and get some parts for the Power Glide. What I want to make sure, because the Power Glide is going to have to go off to Randy and be gone for some time, I want to make sure everything is in the right spot before we send it off, because once we send that off to Randy, I'm going to pull the car out, we're going to pull all the body panels off of him, and we're going to final weld in the motor mounts, the transmission cross member, all that metal that we put in there a couple months ago. It's all just tacked in right now, right? It's just in there just to give us an idea of what we're doing, but I want to make sure everything's 100% before we actually burn this stuff in. So today, we're going to pull the panels off Dodgy, because they actually, to be honest, we can give them a spray down. They need to be washed. And we're going to put Dodgy's motor and his transmission back in him one last time. Make sure everything's exactly where it needs to be. If any changes need to be made or anything needs to be marked out, now's the time. See if I remember how to do this. I've only done it about 15 or 20 times by myself now, so should come pretty quickly. Should be like riding a bike, right? Let's find out. Yeah! God, does it ever feel good to have this engine in here? Now I should be able to get down, mark out that spot where our oil feed lines come out. We'll cut that out after this comes out. But it was important that I put the engine and transmission in here so I can make sure that cutout's in the right spot. Also, I want to double check that where I have the holes for the transmission mount are all straight, so that everything comes in. Everything's really nice and straight in here, because right now it's just setting in there. So I am going to take this opportunity. I'm going to pull, I know it's sad to say, but I'm going to pull the body panels off because these were just loose fit. We're going to clean those up, and I mean there's a ton of prep that has to happen on these things. You can see, like, these are all broken off rivet heads that I have to take out. A lot of prep work on these panels before they're going to be ready to be painted and or vinyled. So first things first, I'm going to take all the panels off. I'm going to spray them down. We'll bring them in here so that they're out of the elements, and then we will, once everything's opened up in here and we got a lot of light, we'll mark out those couple areas that we still need to cut and double check, and then we can pull the engine one last time, disconnect the transmission, get that over to Randy, put this somewhere safe, and then we can finish building that last wall, inner wall here, and burn all of these motor mounts and transmission mounts and cross members all in with the 220 with the stick. But none of that welding's happening today. But definitely going to get these panels off and get them cleaned up so we can take a look at that last panel along the trans tunnel. So many panels, you don't realize how much space they actually take up until you lay them down like this, but my goodness, that's a lot of panel. That's a lot of body to work, body work, which is what we're going to get started on shortly. So what we're going to do is I'm going to wipe these down with some soapy water, find a place for them in HQ so we can start repairing them and getting them ready for some paint, primer, and vinyls. Okay, now that we have those all cleaned up, we're going to bring them inside, and I'm going to start putting them back on the car. The ones that can go back on the car, the ones that don't require either repair or modification. So I can put the roof on, I can put the trunk lid on, I can put the rear bumper on, and I can even put on the whole passenger side and the driver's side door. But the driver's side rear fender and front fenders are pretty flimsy. One is damaged pretty badly, and the hood needs modification, needs to have hood pin holes put into it so that it can sit correctly, because that actually isn't the hood that was on the car originally when we got it. So I'm going to start bringing these in, start putting them on the car and kind of loosely fitting them up where they're going, and then we'll talk about the ones that need to be repaired and what needs to be done to them. But before we do that, we're going to throw that one passenger side of the trans tunnel in and mark it so we know where to cut it, because I don't want to do that after all the panels are back on. It's a lot harder to get in this car once the doors and the roof are back on. That opening in the window gets a lot smaller. So I'm going to do that first, then we'll bring all these in. Okay, so as we'd said, there's a lot of parts here, and there's only a couple of them that actually need some actual structural work to them, and that would be our passenger side fender. This thing is in rough shape. It's actually in two pieces. So I'm going to put a brace in the back and then fiberglass over that and bring those two back together. That's the roughest, the worst of it. The next is this rocker here, which I think this is part of the driver's side. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back through the videos, but one way or the other, this thing is in just as bad a shape. It looks like it's been repaired once before, so we'll go over this. We'll fill all this in and just try and make these look decent. Like I said, race car, not show car, right, guys? So we're just putting it, make sure it's not falling apart. And then the last but not least is the fender, the rear fender, which is it's okay. It just needs some love. It was kind of bent in the wrong direction over the last winter here, so I think it needs a little bit of attention and a little bit of pushing and pulling. It should be fine. And the hood, which needs 4 pins, the hood which needs 4 holes for the hood pins and some rings around those, but that's quick and easy. This stuff is more time consuming, and then of course outside of all of that is drilling out all of these rivets like this, and here, and here, and here, and getting rid of all of those and getting those holes cleared out and ready for some new rivets. So because of that, I'm going to leave this one loose, and that is the piece. I mean, that is the first piece of the puzzle. This goes on, and everything hangs from it. So this one is going to be the first one that we get working on here next week, where we drill out all the rivets and begin sanding this piece down and starting to get it, as I said, ready for paint and prep for vinyl. And then we can move on and work our way all the way around the car. Here's kind of a cool thing. I'm sure you guys saw in the video. Oh, the rear bumper and trunk lid are on, and I haven't seen the back bumper of this car in over a year, and it looks good. It will look even better when we're done doing what we're going to do with it. And I want to tell you guys what that is, but I'm not going to tell you just yet. We're going to leave it as a surprise so you guys can find out when I go and give that rear bumper the final finish that it's going to have. It's not going to be like the rest of the car. Alright guys, that's enough work on Dodgy for today. Let's do some HowFast trivia. So last week's question was a little bit easier, and this week's question is not going to be as easy. So last week's, which car manufacturer is now producing the most vehicles a year? Is it A, Toyota, B, Volkswagen, C, Nissan, or D, General Motors? The correct answer was B, Volkswagen. Pavel got that right, so congratulations, Pavel. Now guys, I mentioned, as I said, this week's question is going to be a little harder, extra hard, and in fact, so hard, if you don't know it off the top of your head, I'll let you look it up. I want to see some answers. Who can get the correct answer on this week's HowFast Trivia? This week's question, at 15.23 miles, what is the longest road tunnel in the world? Is it A, the Gothard Tunnel, B, the Lerdal Tunnel, C, Mont Blanc Tunnel, or D, Yamate Tunnel? I look forward to hearing your responses. Remember guys, get in touch with me at howfast10@gmail.com. Don't forget to stop by how__fast on Instagram. You can catch some sneak peeks of some of the stuff that happens here at HowFast HQ that you don't usually see on the videos. And if you want a good laugh, stop by TikTok at HowFast10 and give me a like, give me a comment. Tell me what you think about me trying to do TikTok. So I'll catch up with you guys next time. Find out how fast we can make this car go.